ceramics. Did you know that some form of fired clay has been found in nearly every culture that archaeologists have investigated? Clay is a specific type of fine-grained soil that has plasticity, meaning it's soft and pliable. It also happens to be one of the most abundant materials on Earth. This specialized soil can be molded into almost any shape, and when heated or fired, it permanently changes into a hard, rock-like substance called ceramic. In our non-living collections, we have an assortment of ceramics collected from all over the world. Some are called vessels, hollow-like containers used for carrying or cooking, like jars and bowls. Depending on their use, they may have details such as handles or feet, while other ceramics are less utilitarian and more ornamental, such as figurines and beads. But my personal favorite in our collection are these ceramic whistles from South America. I can only imagine these being used to communicate over distances, like a really primitive cell phone. Now, more locally speaking, we have ceramics from the Catawba Indian tribe located here in the Carolinas. Their production of pottery is an incredible 4,000-year-old tradition. While they only use a very specific clay for their creations, here in the Carolinas, we're fortunate enough to live on large deposits of clay. These deposits are more easily visible along streams and rivers, or you can even extract clay from the soil in your own backyard. When looking for clay, I recommend you look for specific colors, like red or gray sections of smooth soils. Another indicator you can look for during the dry season is cracked surface soil. If you're not sure if there's clay in your soil, you can do a little test. Pick up a handful of soil. If there is any clay, it should feel smooth, heavy, and it should stick together when it's pinched. To extract the clay, you'll need a hand trowel or shovel and a container. First, before you dig, make sure to ask permission from an adult. To preserve the lawn, you can remove the grass layer in 1 or 2 pieces and dig up the soil underneath. Try to dig deep, but be sure to return the unselected soil and grass when finished extracting. You want to remove about 5 or 6 cups of soil, but it really depends on your chosen container. I used a small cranberry juice container with the top cut open. This proved to be too small when I added water, so I had to switch to a glass bowl. In addition to the soil and 2 containers, you'll need water, about less than a gallon, something to stir with, and an old pillowcase or a piece of fabric. After harvesting your soil, we need to filter out the non-clay inclusions. When the soil is in your first container, add enough water to cover it, give it a rough stir to try to break up the dirt clods. Then add a bunch more water, like at least 5 cups, and continue to stir like crazy. The goal here is to suspend the clay particles in the water while letting the heavier sediment like the sand and rocks fall to the bottom. After letting the mixture sit for an hour, carefully pour the top layer off into the second container. This will be your clay and water mixture. We want to do this slowly so we leave behind the heavier sediments that settle to the bottom. Let this second bucket sit for 24 hours. You should notice very distinct layers start to happen as the heavy clay particles fall to the bottom and the water remains on top. Grass also stayed on top of mine because I wasn't careful when digging my dirt, but that's okay. Time to strain off the water that's separated from the top layer. The rest of the mixture can be poured into the pillowcase or into the center of a piece of fabric. It was raining when I did this step, so I used my sink and I cut a t-shirt in half. If using fabric like I did, gather all 4 corners and twist. Water should wring out slowly. You can leave this to hang in your sink, or if it's not gonna rain, you can hang it to dry outside. After a few days, most of the water will be drained from the clay ball, and all that's left is your homemade backyard clay. Time to shape it. Construct any type of vessel or creation you can imagine. If your clay dries out or you want to reuse it, just add water. However, if you want to turn it into ceramic by applying heat, make sure to fully dry the clay before you fire it. I made many different size circles, and with my experiment, I'm going to be baking them in my home oven. You can try using a fire pit or waiting until you find a school or a place with an indoor kiln if you'd like to fire yours that way. But remember, if your clay creation breaks or your pot cracks, don't get upset. You're just beginning. There is plenty of clay out there, and now you know where to find it and how to process it. Good luck.